We come now to a pivotal turning point in the fortunes of our race. The man and the woman had been created very good, but their creation was not yet complete. God had given them the high destiny of participating in their own creation. He had so arranged matters that these composite creatures, made of material dust and a spiritual soul, would come into their inheritance as kings and queens of creation only with their own cooperation. Would they accept their creatureliness and embrace the plan of their Maker? Or would they try to create themselves according to their own designs? Would they reach out toward the truth in humility? Or would they fall into the illusion of pride? Would they believe God, or would they believe his enemy? Eve took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, and he ate. First Eve and then Adam made their fateful choice. They were not forced into the choice by the devil. It was not fated to happen by divine decree or by a fault of their personalities. They were genuinely free. But having once made their choice, they were not free to avoid its necessary consequences. The first consequence of their disobedience was rupture in their relationship with God. Adam and Eve had been God's beloved children, delighting in his presence, eager to be close to the bright center of their life, walking with him in the garden in the cool of the day. Now when he called to them, they ran away from him and hid themselves. The light of his face disturbed the darkness that had wounded them. For the first time they knew the bitterness of guilt. They began to taste the sharp tang of corruption that their willfulness had brought upon them. Other consequences soon followed. Rupture of relationship with God meant that the order of their lives was damaged. They were no longer at ease in one another's presence. They experienced shame and the need to hide part of themselves from each other. Further, they no longer had easy mastery of their environment. They were now forced to work hard to produce what they needed from a recalcitrant world. Their creative fertility in bringing forth the human race now involved suffering. And they found that their own inner being was no longer under their mastery. Their minds more easily wandered into falsehood. Their wills no longer settled with calm clarity upon what was good. Their emotions and their senses rose up against them and tried to rule them. How could it have been otherwise? By removing themselves from their own creative source, they had thrown the harmony of their being into confusion. And now they found the same disharmony spreading to the whole of their experience. All that had been ordered to their duty and their delight under the loving authority of God, creation, themselves, even the angelic order, now rose up in defiance against them, just as they had risen in rebellion against God. Most momentously, they faced the inevitable experience of death. God had not lied to them about the effect of their eating the forbidden fruit. Their life had been a gift, a moment-by-moment sharing in God's own life that kept the mortality of their physical being at bay and vivified their minds and spirits. Like a lamp that goes out when its power is cut, like a flower that fades when taken from water, so their physical life, now deprived of its source, began to ebb away, and they heard from the mouth of God the bitter result of their rebellion. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. You are dust, and to dust you shall return. Thus did the curse descend upon our first parents, and thus did they frame the legacy that they passed on to their descendants. Banished from their home, exiled through their own fault from the happiness that had been meant for them, Adam and Eve found themselves cast forth upon a darkened world. From this tragic pair came eventually the whole human race, a race mysteriously haunted by remembrance of what they had lost, sorrowfully aware of the height from which they had fallen. A race longing for goodness, but caught by evil, desiring truth, but prey to falsehood, eager for communion, but experiencing loneliness, yearning for immortality, but faced with the sorrowful necessity of death. The whole history of humanity, so full of promise and desire, so racked by darkness and corruption, began to play itself out under the shadow of that fateful act of rebellion, that mysterious fall from grace.